You the man.
Got it. All right, you ready? 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fans in Motion podcast. As I like to say, the only podcast you didn't know you needed. I see my buddies Josh and Brent staring back at me, and I say to them, head out on the highway where there's room to move. I'm a fast blazing road star. I got it all. I got nothing to lose. Say hello, Josh.
Yo, yo, yo. What is that?
That's for you, Interstate Love Affair, because you
yeah.
were on the road, out on the highway, seeing our
That-
boys Night Ranger.
Now, was that the teacher soundtrack version, or was that the Seven Wishes version that you're quoting?
That was a remix.
It's where I pulled it from. It said it comes from Seven Wishes.
All right.
I'm not positive it was, but that's the site where I pulled the lyric up. I didn't pull it off my phone or anything.
Lyrically, I think they're both the same. It's just,
but that's the last. Different. That's the last verse, because I like the fast blazing road star.
It's nice of you to join us from the beach there, my friend. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm doing what I can, living the dream.
Looks really windy, but I don't hear anything picking up in your mic.
Well, it's because I got these filters on there.
Those things that looks like they work. For those of you who are not watching but listening, Andy's got a nice little palm tree and beach scene going on behind him. Only thing that would have made that more complete is if you've been wearing the coconut bra.
You mean top? Oh, wait. We probably don't need to see that.
Dude, if you get a coconut bra right around Halloween and put it on and come on this show, I will pay you.
Okay.
Anyway, I want to tell you, I was watching you doing your Fans in Motion thing at the beginning, and it looked like you were channeling the Macho Man. You look more like a wrestler every time you do this.
I grew up loving the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and of course the Nature Boy himself, Ric Flair, who is doing his very last match here in Nashville.
Woo! For the 14th time.
Yeah.
He's like on that Kiss thing. I'm really tempted to go see it, but I probably won't, just for the record.
I mean, everything that I needed to know about how to act in public and how to treat women, I learned from Ric Flair and the Macho Man in the early 80s.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Josh, I don't know if I lead with that one.
What?
What? Ooh. Now, I did learn my dietary habits, too. I like to snap into a Slim Jim, a la Macho Man himself. Ooh, yeah. So, anyway, what are we doing today, Josh? What do you want to talk about? I know you were on the road.
I think this is going to be our news, notes, and minutia episode where we talk about the latest in Night Ranger news. I show off some collectibles, and we talk a little bit about the Fans of Motion tribute page. But let's harken back to a couple weeks ago where we did our ranking episode of Somewhere in California. I don't know if you guys, how much you guys have been on there, but it was interesting seeing everybody else's rankings. One thing I think that we like, very rarely do we all agree on one thing. Right, because most of the time everybody else, is wrong besides me. Okay, in this case, everybody came on board, was like, hey, I think we agree with the mighty Josh Christopherson. I think everybody ranked their number, like their last song, as Rock and Roll Tonight.
Yeah, I noticed that trend too.
Which is weird because a lot of times, their songs may be ranked at the bottom, but sometimes it may be 11 or it may be 9, 8, but maybe they're in the general area. Everybody had that song as number 11. So that'd be cool to ask one of the guys, like, hey, so what was it about that song for you guys?
Yeah.
And what's great about that album is if that's your worst song, it's not that bad. I mean, not that it's my favorite song, but there are redeeming qualities in the song it isn't like that song comes on and I hit skip. It's just all right, whatever. But yeah, everybody ranked it on there. Lance Rushing, him and I both had the same 1 and 2, just flipped around. Growing up in California and lay it on me. I don't really agree with like he had Say It With Love and It's Not Over a little bit more or down at the end, but I just blame that on the Texas heat for him. Ken Finley, his number 1 going into the pre-listen, Bye Bye Baby, which is incorrect. Well, again, I don't. It must be the Ohio heat for him because afterwards he just wrote post-listen. Andy Parker is smart, so
is dead on.
He must have had some serious head wound happen in between the start of the video and
Ken Finley's good people.
Tom Chapin. Number 1, he went with the ballad Time of Our Lives. Number 2, Follow Your Heart. But number 11, Rock and Roll Tonight. And he got 100 bonus points from Jerry Beach for being on the Old School Reporter's notebook. John Juanito Davey, number 1, Growing Up in California. Number 12, well, he ranked LA No Name, the bonus track. Rock and Roll Tonight, while performing with the utmost musicianship and talent. He just considers it a throwaway song.
Hey, and I'll say this too: if we had ranked "L.A. No Name," I actually would have ranked that higher too than "Rock and Roll Tonight" because I actually like that as an instrumental. It's a good tune.
Yeah, I mean,
for whatever that's worth,
we could have, but we didn't. So deal with it. I reckon. Yeah. Dave Nadalman, number 12. Well, he had L.A. No Name 11, but 12, Rock and Roll Tonight. Number 1, Time of Our Lives. So that song gets a lot of got a lot of love on the page. So
I mean, the right place for that is 7, where I had it, but I'll let him have it at number 1. To each their own.
That's
I mean, some of these guys are Steelers fans. You know their judgment's off.
Yeah, they.
Chapin, ding.
So there you go. If you haven't yet, post your list up there. It's just cool to see. There's actually, let me look here. I think there was a couple more listings there, but Dawn Patrol 700 on the YouTube page. He again had Rock and Roll Tonight as 11, and Growing Up in California as number 1. End of the Day was his number 2. Here, you guys can speak to this. Speaking of lit, anyone notice Lucky Man has a similar opening riff to our to Own Worst Enemy?
Yep.
So yeah, just going through here. Cabo Wabo dude. It's weird how if everything's one word with no spaces, it takes you a second. Like, what is that?
Break it up.
Yeah.
His favorite, I think, was No Time to Lose You.
Smart guy. Look, I'm down in Cabo. We should hook up. This is where I'm at currently.
BB Clima, This Is Easy for Me. Say It With Love is number 1, and the rest of the record is tied for number 2. And he was not a fan of the Slaying Def Leppard record. So
really,
oh boy.
There you go. There is some feedback from the latest in-depth episode where we ranked Growing Up in California. I would assume if you're listening to this, you have you know the record. If not, unfortunately, it's out of print where you can't just go buy it. You can probably get it like on secondhand market on like eBay or something. But track down the record.
It's available for download.
well, everything's available for download, but almost.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll go get the physical copy and dig into it. But obviously they make it a little difficult to do that. So track it down, listen to it, and you won't be disappointed. Hard to believe that album is 11 years old.
It is.
But
Yeah, I thought it was a hell of a coincidence we ranked it, and I don't think any of us thought about the anniversary date when we were doing it and that coming out.
I mean, I knew it wasn't why we ranked it. I knew that
Right.
it was close just because I just remember it was, early June or something right around
summer.
there when I downloaded the single, or maybe like end of May. I knew it was towards the end of my trip when I was overseas. So then I know it was released, a couple weeks before I left, which I left on July 4th. So I knew it was, in the middle of June-ish, between middle of June and probably end of June. But I didn't know that it was, the exact date. And then I think we released it 2 days after or something like that. So there you go. So let's dig into the Night Ranger news, and I guess we'll start with so we're recording this on Sunday, June 26th, and Friday, June 24th, I meandered up to Toledo, Ohio, basically the center of the universe, to see Night Ranger play an outdoor show at I think it's called the Promenade Park, outside in Toledo. Toledo, very old city, a lot of old architecture. It's cool seeing those buildings with they've been there for 100 years, and a lot of them, some of them are empty, but talking to Ken Finley, friend of the page, who's been up there forever. He's talked about how much has changed in since he's been up there, especially the downtown area. So it's definitely improving and looking good, and there was a lot going on that day. So you had a local opener, Sebastian Bach, Night Ranger, right there on the river, in downtown. Basically across the street at the Huntington Center in the arena, you had Brooks and Dunn. That night, also basically a block and a half away, you had the Toledo Mud Hens, AAA baseball team game with a post-game concert. And then I think somewhere else in some theater there downtown, the Temptations were playing. So you had a lot of options in downtown Toledo that night. So outdoor show right in the wide open. They do it really well. They, block off this whole, park, and I think you could get VIP tickets and regular tickets like $20, right? And that gets you on like one side of the stage, and VIP tickets are on the other side of the stage, just not as many people. So even with a general admission ticket, I think you could get down front. I could be a little wrong off that. So like us doing the photo, like Fans of Motion photo things, either other people are going to have to organize that, or we're going to have to do it earlier, because I've been failing at those miserably, because just being back there with them before the show, when everything starts getting ramped up, and then I'm doing stuff and getting ramped up, and then I can't organize the photo. And also during general admission seats, no one wants to leave their, where they're standing, right before the show. So we'll probably have to start doing it earlier, which I hate, because not everybody's there. But if we don't do something, we're never going to get any of these photos, at least when I'm there. So I know all of us had talked about doing a group photo, and we weren't able to accomplish that. But few things cool about the Toledo show. I don't know if you guys saw, but they opened with Rock in America,
Yeah,
which
saw that.
which isn't it's uncommon but not unheard of. They have opened other shows with Rock in America. I think they did maybe the Metal Fest that they played the last minute last year. I think they opened with Rock in America there. And my goal was to go live with it to get it, on video. And the connection was so bad. So I started the video like right before they went on stage, and it ends there, but it wasn't on purpose. I lost connection, and we were all having connection issues. Uh, right around that area. So, um, but yeah, so unique there and Rockin' America opening up the show, and other than that, standard set list, which you're going to get when they play the
Yeah.
the outdoor, where they're headlining, and it's not just the hardcore fans. So I did go live on the Night Ranger page. Um we got them kind of gearing up to go up on stage and start the show, which is always cool to see that behind the scenes stuff. I need to release it. I haven't yet, but so there was some, a little bit of, okay, let's go, get ready, go up on stage, and then there was a little bit of a delay, so we're all just kind of hanging out talking, and then Carrie probably, hey, let's do a shot of tequila, and next thing I know, there's a shot of tequila shoved in my hand, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing the pre-show shot with the boys. And so normally I don't do it, but I grabbed my phone and hit video, and I recorded me doing my pre-show shot. So with Night Ranger. So that was a unique little unexpected experience. Andy, you should have been there.
My work schedule changed and I was unable to make that, and I wanted to go so bad.
Yes,
But I'm pretty sure it was Patron. It was tequila.
I mean, I wouldn't have had the shot with him. That would have been awkward.
Well,
I mean, I guess I would have thrown it over my shoulder or thrown it at Josh.
But yeah, so but yeah, so there's that. So came out with Rock in America. I did talk to Brad about going live. We just got his Facebook page going. Like, why don't we go live on your page? And we debated, well, what song? It's like, do the Aussie, the Aussie. I mean, it's not Night Ranger's page. It's a Brad Gillis page, and you're the dude that replaced Ozzy. And so we did. It's got 38,000 views from Friday night.
Yeah.
So, and I think I did the drum solo on Kelly's. One of the highlights of the show was Sebastian Bach had opened the show, and very last minute, Sebastian Bach came out and sang with Jack on the Damn Yankees High Enough track. Not an easy song to sing. I'll leave it at that, but it was cool. It's always cool to see someone join, the band, on a song. So what have we seen? We've seen Sebastian Bach. We've seen Corey Taylor from Slipknot. Seems like there was another one recently.
Going back to my memory banks, although he joined them on stage, he didn't sing a Night Ranger song, but Tim Ripper Owens joined him up in Cleveland and did You Got Another Thing Coming, which I have that video. I was watching on my phone just the other day. I was like, oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah. So there's that. And we did, I did a and I always forget, basically, like, either myself, like, hey, I'm doing all this stuff, like I should take a picture for me, or Fans of Motion page. It was the very end. I'm like, I haven't went live on Fans of Motion. So I was right there, kind of like, you can see where I was by the stairs. And
Yeah.
so I was able to rest my phone on like a little bar and hold
Mhm.
it, and so on the Fans of Motion Facebook page, you basically got I don't know what you want to call it, backstage view from behind of them playing Don't Tell Me You Love Me. So there you go. If you're not on the Facebook page, you're missing out on that
Exclusive.
You took a
exclusive.
good picture of Eric too.
All from
Yeah,
behind.
yeah,
So
that was
that
cool.
that again, those for every one cool pick you get, you take 9 shitty
Yeah.
picks, trying to try stuff. That actually is okay. So that big Night Ranger logo mesh you use
Hmm.
for the outside shows, that's in between Eric and me. I press the phone up against that mesh.
Oh, I see.
So
Gotcha.
it's going through the mesh. It turned out better than I thought, because I had to crop it a little bit and stuff. There's a couple photos, but yeah, it's like going live like with Kelly and the drum set or the drum solo. I would have been better going back out in the crowd and being back a little bit. It just that angle didn't really work, but you start it and it's like, all right, I can't end it.
Right.
So and to get out into the crowd, I mean, I would have had to walk like a football field down the wrapped around and get back out. It was not the easiest setup for me there. So but yeah, so the first of many Ohio dates this this summer, and there's a lot of people from the Fans of Motion page. I'm not going to name names because I'll forget 1 or 2 of them, and then I'll feel bad for a couple minutes. But a lot of people from the Fans of Motion page, I did meet up with a few of them and have a late lunch with them, and all good. And I was walking through the crowd, and I heard someone yell Josh, and I kind of looked like, are they yelling at me? Blah blah blah. And it was I think his name's Jim Brown.
James Brown.
James Brown.
Yeah.
Hit me. And yeah, I'd mailed him a pin earlier, last year or something. He collects the Night Ranger pins, and I had one that he didn't have. But he reminded me that's the stuff you got to do. Like I'd forgotten all about, like, oh, okay, now then it all comes back, and so
That's in the focus.
that helps. So good show. Robin Ludidi was there. So good times had by all. And then after the show, they had a private show the next day, Saturday, in Troy, Missouri. That's the one I told one of the shows I told Ed to hush up about when he was rambling off tour.
Mhm.
So that was a private show, I think, for an automobile, manufacturer, like a big probably employee party or something.
Yeah.
Could that be?
And I do know it was delayed for thunderstorms, and that they did eventually play the show. Other than that, I don't know anything else about it. But so there were 2 shows this weekend, but like I said, one was a private private show. A couple. Oh, I think there's only been really 1 show announcement since we last talked. Anybody want to take a guess what state it's in?
OH, baby.
That is right. Wellington, Ohio, at the Lorain County Fair. You guys going to Cleveland for that?
Look at the date, but I do wish they'd plan some more shows in Ohio. Be awesome.
I think that's a Tuesday.
I wish they'd planned some more in southern Ohio, like in the Cincinnati area more.
They're playing Wilmington.
Yeah, that's as close to Cincinnati as we're going to get.
Hey, Josh, before we get too far off, are you going to go over the set from the concert, or are you done with that? Because I just had one question about it. Yeah.
We can go over it more. What was your question?
Well, just the question. I'm looking at somebody posted online, and I see that Touch of Madness looks like it was scratched out, so they did not play Touch.
Touch of Madness was in the original set list, and
crime.
Yeah, there were some arrows, I think.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
So that set list is the one where, because I had that set list, I gave that to, I think, Lisa's kiddo, Norm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So that set list was the original set list. They decided to add the Aussie, I think, part, which understandable. You're playing a huge outdoor crowd, which isn't necessarily just Night Ranger fans.
Right.
And as much as you like it or you don't like it, it goes over phenomenal.
Yeah, and they said to drop something.
So they dropped Touch of
Gotcha.
Madness.
Do they do Alice Cooper too?
They did. They played some.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like if you're
they
looking at it looks like the note says A/O, which I imagine means Alice /
Yeah.
Ozzy.
Okay.
Well, what they did was they took out Touch and then they flipped Secret of My Success
Yeah.
and Ozzy, if I remember correctly. So that's where some of the arrows come in. And then once they changed it and they were done with that set list, I just grabbed it and gave it to Lisa's 12-year-old kid. So yeah, I mean, they're always changing stuff. And, and again, you know, listen, I know there's people like, hey, you could have played another Night Ranger song and not played, the Ozzy Osbourne stuff. True. But you're playing to a crowd that isn't quite necessarily Night Ranger crowd or 100% Night Ranger crowd.
It always goes over well.
And it goes over well like that. I mean, that's the reason why they put it in, because of that type of show. If they were playing Wilmington, maybe not, because it's Night Ranger fans, it's their show. And at the end of the day, like I said, where Brad Gillis replaced Ozzy Osbourne, there is that history there. They're just not playing it to play it.
You mean Randy Rhoads?
Well, who'd I say?
Ozzy.
Yeah, so
we knew what you meant. Well, also, can you we talked about it in the very opening, but like, what was the reasoning? Do you have any insight on why they opened with Rockin' America? Because they could have opened with Breakout. And
I think it's mainly because
it's such a big classic ender for them.
It's a little bit shorter of a set list. If you notice, there's no Sentimental Street and no Goodbye, which I've always said that they could take one of those songs out of the show and play a deeper Night Ranger track if they wanted to. In this case, they took them both out just because, think about it. You're going, you got Skid Row fans there too that you're playing to, right? So you want to, you got to change it up a little bit. You got to change it up to be a little bit of a harder show. It's a shorter show too, so you got to take something out to begin with. And Sebastian Bach was loud. And there were Sebastian Bach fans there. I mean, you saw a lot of Skid Row, and so if anything, it was like a co-headline show than Night Ranger, Sebastian Bach opening for that. So, yeah, does that answer the question?
That's good. Yeah, I was just curious if you had any and that makes sense.
I wasn't in the trailer with him at that time when that decision was made. Now I was in there earlier with Eric, maybe 30 minutes before, and I saw the set list, and I mentioned to Eric that I was surprised the Aussie thing wasn't on there. And Eric joked around with me after the show. He's like, dude, you were on it. Like, sure enough, they added it on there. So,
yeah, I probably got the crowd going crazy.
Oh, it did. It does. And that's why I went live on it, because I had been up front, at one of these outdoor shows where Brad had, done that. And I was just right there, like in front of his guitar. And it's like, this is the guy that replaced Randy Rhoads right here. He's doing this solo. And I was, because Brad was a little hesitant. And I'm like, I finally told him, I just like, dude, it's your page. Because he
love it.
Because he was hesitant because it's not Night Ranger, right? And I'm like, I'm not doing it on Night Ranger. I'm doing it on yours.
Yeah.
I was like, I go, number one, it's awesome. And number two, you are the guy who replaced Randy Rhoads. I mean, that's part of your legacy. So there's every reason to put it up there. And he just went with it and said okay. And we went with it, and And we texted a little bit yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, you made the right decision." It's what I say, almost 40,000 views, less than 48 hours.
Oh, I
And
tell you, when I'm out, doing my work with my staging and rigging down here, and I talk about the podcast to people and talk about Night Ranger, and I'd say 50% of the people I talk to all go, "Man, Brad Gillis, he replaced Randy Rhoads." I mean, that's what they lead with. And then they go into like, "Man, I loved, classic Night Ranger." And we get into that conversation, but it's
the second
over 40 years later, and people are still talking about that. That's how they first heard of Brad Gillis.
the second thing they lead with is, did you know Eric Levy fired Brad Gillis and Jack Blades?
They said it's odd that the keyboard player did that, but I said, Eric's he's a Chicago guy.
Yeah, he's taken over. So other stuff that's out there, obviously, I think we talked about a little bit. Japan in October. I think I mentioned it before. The skills, remember I said like the white colored vinyl, was sold out on the Frontiers page. They did add a photo on Amazon for the vinyl, and it looks like it's the same vinyl, the same colored vinyl. So there may not be a black standard version of the skills record. If there is, let me know. Just curious on that. And then the newest, I guess, Night Ranger related release would be Iconic, which is another one of these super groups. Joel Hoekstra used to be a Night Ranger, now White Snake, along with some dudes from Striper and White Snake, and I don't know who else. But anyways, they got a colored vinyl. I think it's gold. And it's been getting some good reviews. I haven't listened to it as much, so I don't really. I'll get that going so I can at least comment on it. But it's been getting good reviews, so go check it out if you're looking for some new music. Iconic. Other than that, Night Ranger news, I don't think there's really much. There's a few shows still left to be announced. I'll give you the states just for the fuck of it. Kentucky, there's still, Ed's probably already fucking did it. There's another Kentucky show off the top of my head. I think there's another Texas show. And there might be a couple others, one or two. But other than that, you're going to have to probably wait a little bit unless something new pops up for, after November.
Just travel to the Buckeye State.
Yeah.
All that.
Ohio Ranger. And then the other day I got it's always cool getting something like this in the mail. That's from my attorney for you guys should be getting something too where I'm suing you guys.
Cease and desist.
Yeah. So no, this is stuff for the Danny Rapepi show. So I just got it, so I haven't looked over yet, but we'll talk maybe more about that next week. It's just the packages and stuff that are available, which you can probably already find on the website. All right, I think I hit all the Night Ranger news. Anybody got any new Night Ranger collectibles? Andy, I know you're big on buying stuff and putting it in boxes.
I'm all packed, loaded up here down in Cabo with all my Night Ranger collectibles. No, I got nothing.
And Brentry?
Not Night Ranger, but I have something new to show.
Well, why don't you show something new?
Me?
Well, you know what? What I'd really like to see is the new lit record.
Well, your wish is my command.
Oh.
It's funny that you were showing that envelope. I got my vinyl the other day. They did a limited edition 200 gold vinyl of it, and it came mangled. I mean, it was horrible. And I just got another one yesterday. They sent me in the mail to replace it. But my wife handed it to me. She goes, "This says Fans of Motion, Brent Walter." And I'm like, who the hell sent me something that says Fans of Motion on it? Well, I didn't realize it when I was filling the account out. I did an autofill, and in one of my files for like a business thing, it says Fans of Motion. So it matriculated into the address, and I had no clue. But I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, I got the new lit CD. I got the new lit vinyl, and I got the black vinyl coming here soon. As soon as they press it, 12 tunes. Andy bought it the other day. They do a cover version of "Let's Go" of the Cars, Butch Walker,
the one and only Butch Walker.
And God, they own that tune, don't they?
It's really good. That song was the first thing I heard off of it when you told me it was out. And I won't steal your thunder, but
no,
they do a great cover. If you like the Cards, they respect the song. And the new Lit album is a solid. Again, if you like Night Ranger and melodic rock, you really will like this album. It's really good. I'm not lying. I don't have it. I just downloaded it. Supporting these guys, and it's a solid listen front to back. I really enjoy. I was listening to it today before we came on the podcast.
Were you?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, it's called Taste Like Gold, and it's more modern contemporary sound, wouldn't you say, Andy?
Yeah, it's not real punky. It's just kind of poppy, and
but well crafted.
You know, their lyrics are always clever, which is a good thing about Lit.
I hear is
here he goes.
Is that they ain't no Smash Mouth.
Yeah,
you're right. They aren't. They are not.
But they aspire to be.
No.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't?
So
fantastic man.
Britt is happy that in 2022 he gets a new Lit record
and tour, and Dave Nadelman bought it as well. So,
well, Dave Nadelman,
is a man of the epic tastes.
He's on board.
Has issues as well. And the Lit Night Ranger connection is the bass player also did the photography for some of Night Ranger's ATV PO stuff. So
6 degrees of separation.
That would be Kevin Baldus. And he's also buds with Carrie Kelly.
Well, Carrie Kelly's buds with everybody.
Yeah, well.
So here is something I don't know what this was just thrown in somewhere. It is a little advertisement. I don't know where it would have been hanging from, but it's got like a little thing there that's been broke. REO Speedwagon with special guest Night Ranger to Grand Casino. Hinckley, wherever Hinckley is, it seems like what, maybe Missouri or something like that. Virginia, maybe. Missouri? Anyways,
Nebraska.
So there you go. There's so you're looking at somewhere in the early 2000s. REO Speedwagon. What's crazy is to think we thought they were old then.
Yeah.
And just like I see REO Speedwagon, like, man, they were, they look like teenagers in that photo compared to how they look now. But some other weird stuff. So this is the Cubby Bear Chicago. I don't know where the hell they're playing at. Somewhere. Maybe they were playing the Cubby Bear in Chicago.
There is a Hinckley, Illinois, and a Hinckley, Minnesota, if that matters.
Well, Hinckley, Missouri, and Illinois, that is in the area, like direction I thought it was in. I couldn't remember the state, but I thought it was like right out there in the Midwest, but that don't necessarily mean that that's it. But
yeah.
So anyways, this is just a little paper advertisement, and it's just weird that it's got one of the few group photos with Red Beach and Michael Lardy.
Minnesota.
Like that's the pick they choose?
Well, there probably wasn't many because
wait, in 2000, what would that lineup was?
Well, this would have been probably right around 2007. So this is post Jeff, pre Joel. So it's just that short period. So
Reb
and Michael Lardy. So one of the few group photos from that era. What else we got here? So I was at was at this show Wednesday, September 12th. This would have been in Nashville at the Wild Horse Saloon in 2007. This was right after Jeff had left or fired. Reb's in the group, and we've talked about this before, but Night Ranger had started marketing themselves as, I won't say as a three-piece, but the marketing and then their website would only show the three principal members, and this is an ad that you would see like that. So at one time,
if I remember correctly, you had a couple of drinks that night, right?
I was
Oh,
And that's the one where you got rode the elevator down.
elevator, yeah.
Red Beach. Yeah, Red Beach thing. I
mean, I can't remember what concerts I've been to, but I remember your drunken debauchery stories.
Well, I went to Tootsie's, not Tootsie's, Layla's Bluegrass Inn because they used maybe they still do, but they used to have ribbon for $1 until 6 o'clock. Now, the first time I found that out was 2004. I don't know if I ever told this part, but I'm with my buddy, and my buddy's dad was with us too, and he was a big drinker, loved ribbon as well. And I'm outside. It's like 8:30 in the morning, getting my boots, shined, right? And he comes out of this bar, and I just hear him go, and that's all I hear. Where seeing how excited he is, I'm thinking there's a bar fight. Like, my buddy's in a bar fight. Like, we got to go, like, start fighting. I'm like, what? And he goes, ribbon's only $1. That's what I hear. That's the second time. And so I finish up, I go back in there, and it's just us really at 8:30 in the morning. But the cool thing about Nashville is the bands are so good. There's bands even at 8:30 in the morning, but they're A-class musicians. But so we're in there talking, to the bartender, and she, okay, there's dollar ribbons till 6. And I just remember Clyde asking them, like, well, do you have enough? And she's like, I've worked here for 8 years. We've never sold out. 2 o'clock, sold out. We had drank that much. God, that was. But anyways, same thing basically happened in 2007, to where I showed up at that concert. I ran into Doc McGee at Layla's. He was down there, I think, for Night Ranger as well, maybe. But I'm what I do is I take $5 up. I'd order 4 beers and keep the change, keep the $1. I come back with my 4 beers, and it was just me and my buddy. And I'm walking down this little ramp, get down to the next little level, and I damn near about ran into Doc McGee. And I was like, "You're Doc McGee?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I just want to say hi." And I just knew I was that fucked up. Like, I was just going to say hi and just leave him alone.
Leave it at that.
But yeah. Here's something that's kind of interesting.
What is this?
This
$4.
is Night Ranger Japan Tour 2008.
You see that crinkled edge there, Brian?
Yeah, I saw that.
I knew you would.
So there is the lineup at the time. Joel Hostra, Christian Collin. Yeah, I think he literally woke up 5 minutes. He woke up. It's like, shit, we got a photo shoot in 2 minutes.
It looks like he came off of a Nickelodeon set.
I think he's cropped in that picture.
That looks how I look when we're doing a podcast. I get a little disheveled.
I just think that's how I think that's the hairstyle back in 2007, 2008. I mean, I had it going where it was a little messed up and stuff like that back when I
still have it now, so I shouldn't complain. I shouldn't say anything.
So here you go. You can see again the 3 principal members, and them adding Christian and Joel there. This kind of so it folds out, but you can open it kind of like a book a little bit. So there's Jack, and then you open it here, Brad and Kelly. So again, the 3 principal members, but then it unfolds.
Oh, just like the Midnight Madness one.
Yeah.
And you got, some live photos back there and all that shit. And then I'm not even sure what this does.
I can tear it.
So if you look at the poster that it folds out to, again, it's just those 3 guys.
Yeah.
So anyways, Japanese tour book from 2008. And the only other thing I'll bring out, just because I just bought this for a few bucks at a record store that I stopped at.
I see Boardwalk.
Yeah. It is Dawn Patrol, and we sometimes talk about the different vinyl and everything. And what vinyl do you have? This is the RCA version. So it's Boardwalk, but if you look, all the RCA information there. So just because you have a boardwalk record doesn't mean you necessarily have like a store copy. You could have RCA or CRC.
Columbia House. Yeah.
And on this, the RCA is on the label as well.
Yeah, you can see it.
And also the texture of the cover just feels different. It's hard to describe, but I can just tell a difference in the texture. And then for shits and giggles, I bought this when I was up there. You guys were Southern Ohio, so
I know who Ken Mitchell is.
but my buddy who was from Buffalo, which is basically Canada, a lot of Kim Mitchell up there. But so if you guys don't know Kim Mitchell, crank up some Go for Soda. Do you remember Go for Soda? Go for Soda and Patio Lanterns. But
they used to play something down here, but I can't remember what the tune was.
But it's just crazy how, how you just go a little bit south of the border. No one knows who Kim Mitchell is, including me. I just got into it because my buddy from Buffalo, hey, Kim Mitchell.
It's the same with Connie Hatch.
Connie Hatch, yeah.
Yeah, Coney Hatch. You're right. Monkey Bars. That was a big song they played down here all the time.
So there you go. That's
Hey, real quick, Josh, did you pick up any of the new merch they have out?
Oh yeah, the new merch. And
there's something I definitely need.
I did not, just because like I said, to get from behind the stage to just on the other side of the stage, you had to walk basically over a football field, either left or right, and I didn't do that.
Well, you took pictures of it.
Well,
you couldn't buy it then.
That was before the show. I wasn't gonna carry it around all day.
Okay.
Well, the keychain, I want one of those. That's bad looking.
I would say. Oh, shit.
And the 40th anniversary or the established, whatever that is, that's cool. I like that.
I would assume they're going to be on the website soon.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to pay $38 in shipping for a keychain.
No.
I travel to a show.
There, I think, is also supposed to be tumblers. Don't quote me on that. So some Night Ranger tumblers.
Kind of like I tumble in.
But I don't. Nothing new shirt wise.
I'll see myself to the door.
Also, Brad Gillis has new guitar picks. So there's still the big yellow triangle.
Yeah, I saw that
with Brad's picture on the one side, but on the other side, it's the 40th anniversary logo. I didn't grab any, but oh yeah. But
okay, anyways, there, Turbo.
Yeah, no. So there's some new Brad Gillis guitar picks. What we got in the fans and motion world?
Let's throw it to our boy Brent out in the street.
We're gonna start it off right. We're gonna start it off, Josh, properly with a pH alert. pH alert coming. So that can only mean Carrie Ann Sutphin. Carrie Ann Sutphin went ahead and got herself a cricket, and she's making everything. It's a nice new little tank top.
Oh, that's cool looking. So she's making that. That's what
yeah. Yeah, my daughter has one of those, and she's been supposed to making me stuff for the past year, and I've gotten one thing.
I love that. That's cool.
Just make sure after you make it, you pay the licensing fee and mail that in to Night Ranger Enterprises.
Just mail it to Josh.
I'll make sure I forward.
It'll get to him.
So yeah, this cricket's cool because you can make stickers, you can make iron-ons, you can do anything. For the most part. Switch it over to Brad Klink. Brad Klink took advantage of, what was it, the $5 sale?
Oh yeah,
on Frontiers Records. Is that right, Josh? They had a $5 CD sale.
So they usually have the sale going on all the time. Every now and then they'll add something, a new advertisement. I don't think the Skills was $5, but I could be wrong. But the Revolution Saints, they've had on there for $5. I bought the one of the new White Snake CDs on there for $5, like Sun Bomb, which was Tracy Guns' band. And then they have some vinyl for like 10 or $15 that you can get as well. So just make sure when you go to the US store.
We're keeping Josh awake today.
What in the hell?
I'm telling you, I'm the same way. It's a Sunday afternoon, and
Oh,
I'm so ready to go to bed. It's not even funny, and I got so
Polite-
much stuff to do.
If society didn't frown on cocaine, I wouldn't be this tired.
And less trousers.
You just start sipping. Okay, we're going to take it all the way over to Sweden Rock Fest. We didn't really touch on that, but Eric Hart and his girlfriend drove 5 hours from Germany to see there, and he's got his gum.
Look at that nice throwback shirt and the best show ever.
Probably
Damn straight, Eric Hart.
Drove 5 hours and probably went through 4 countries.
Yeah. I had better scenery than driving 5 hours across Ohio.
Yeah, he wrote best show ever on it. So yeah, I pulled that off the page.
What's that shirt? Is that Midnight Madness?
Yeah.
The sleeveless shirt, or do you cut the sleeves off? I can't see it because on my screen it's a little small.
Yeah, it's a picture of the poster the poster book we got.
Yeah.
You know.
That's so cool. Wish I had one of those.
So we'll go into it later. I got another Sweden, but these are going to go in the order that they're in on my thing here. Gail Remain got her copy of the imported version from Japan of 7.
Look at that.
So now she has one extra great tune. What would that tune be, Josh?
Well, there's actually 2 extra tunes on there, but the big one, the bonus track for Japan, since everybody knows Japan has the bonus track, I think is an acoustic version of Let Him Run. And though it's not listed as a bonus track, there is an extra track, a studio track on there called Crazy World, which is not on the US version and maybe one of the best Night Ranger tracks out there. So if you're wanting to get Night Ranger everything, you need to get the Japanese version because it's got that extra track called Crazy World, which is a really good Kelly Kagi ballad.
Now, how many people will we turn on to that version
14,
of the CD? Yeah.
14.5 to be exact.
Is that right?
Well, one was a midget.
Oh, well, there are people too. Here's a throwback for Andy. Andy loves these throwbacks. Jeff Blunt rocking his old Night Ranger hat and his old Night Ranger Midnight Madness shirt.
I want to see where that. I've never seen that hat.
That's pretty cool, man.
And he's playing guitar with the only 2 fingers I can play guitar with on the neck.
Yeah, he's playing some power chords right there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's
it's
probably
like
playing a little Lynch.
Now, do you guys remember that Night Ranger hat from back in the day?
I do not.
I've never seen one out there. Oh, whatever you're doing. Shit. You were blurry, Brett.
I saw it.
Keep it like that. Keep that. But never mind. Good things never last.
Yeah, I knew you didn't have that hat. I was positive you probably didn't have it.
And I was never certain things I never collected from Night Ranger. All right. Just because that wasn't in my wheelhouse was like hats. I mean, I had like a Mojo one, but I actually bought it and wore it for a little bit because I was, decided getting laid wasn't my thing, I guess. And
Ding, ding.
And posters. I never really bought a lot of posters, which I've started buying them now just because I got the podcast and everything.
Yeah.
And magazines. I didn't buy a lot of, the Night Ranger magazines. So I don't think I've ever seen the hat, but if I did back in the day, like, maybe like 10, 15, 20 years ago, I may not have paid much attention to it. But I can tell you I haven't seen it recently. I know that for sure.
I don't recall. I know back in the day when Brent and I would go to shows, I always was trying to find a tour book. So that's the one thing I always focused on. I never
or book and a t-shirt.
Yeah, and I mean, I would have loved to have had, again, the necklace, which I always thought the necklace would always be available. So I never thought about grabbing one at the time. But I always looked for tour books was the first thing I wanted.
I guess the necklaces just don't sell. That's why they don't produce them right now.
Could be.
You could take that keychain and make it into one.
Well, I got my necklace now. I mean, it took me, almost 40 years to finally get it, but I got it.
If I was able to like make 20,000, give me 20,000 of them, because they're going to sell over 2 years. It's like everybody wants the necklace and they get them for like a month and then they're sold out. And I don't know. Anyways, they don't like money. So
it's just a little iconic. Because I think Jack wore one for the longest time on the show.
There's a photo out there of Fitz with one.
And you
Mhm.
see all the videos from
Jeff
MTV
had
back in
one.
the day. You just
Yeah.
saw that. You're like, I want that necklace. I want to wear a bandana around my neck.
Oh, was that in the Van Halen logo? I remember everybody was wearing
Van
that
Halen
too.
logo, another thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
anyway, go on.
I remember finding it back in the, probably like 97-ish. I just remember where I was living. And I wore my original Ranger necklace from the 80s. And I wore it for like a week, and I didn't realize it was staining my shirts.
Mhm.
And so I had to retire it. But yeah, I
Nothing but the best.
yep. So what else we got, Brentry?
Got Lance Rushing. Give us a little bit of TMG.
Yeah.
We've discussed this album before.
Tak Mushiato or something.
Yeah, with Eric Martin, Jack Blades,
Brian
Tishy, and then but he's posted the DVD here too. Now, what I didn't realize when I was looking at this picture, his CD in the upper left-hand corner says 2 CD on it. So mine only came with the CD. That comes with a bonus CD, which I'm guessing has a music video or something on it.
Remind me, and I will check my collection, because I don't know. I probably got 3. I got the DVD. I know that.
Do you?
I don't think I've ever opened it or watched it, but I do have a lot of the tax CDs, so I don't know if I got a 2-discer or not, so I'll have to look.
Yeah, I never got this, but I watched the video that they posted, and I was like, man, that's a really good song.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I'm an Eric Martin fan, so I like that, but I was like, that's actually just a well-written song. And I guess he's taxed some kind of guitar legend over there, because that arena looks sold out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to have some type of clout to get Jack Blades,
Yeah.
Eric Martin, Brian Tishy in your band. So, yeah, and it was, but it goes back to that dead, I forget what I was calling it, but like the dead period in Night Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
How I always talk about 1999 to 2008 was this dead period. Even though you did get Hole in the Sun, it really, we didn't get Hole in the Sun until 2008 in the US, but there was just, wasn't a lot of Night Ranger stuff. And the tours, it'd be a rib fest or something, right?
Yeah.
And so, but was it really dead? I always say it's Night Ranger was dead, but you had a couple Kelly solo records, you had Jack solo record, you had this tax thing, Brad had Alligator. So you had stuff going on, but it's like the focus was everywhere but Night Ranger. And this is just another example of that. So and you can find some YouTube stuff. So if you're, wanting to go down that rabbit hole, there's stuff out there on YouTube that you can find, which when this stuff originally came out, I don't think there was a YouTube, or at least it wasn't nowhere near as big.
Right. And people were asking, they couldn't find the CD. Well, I found it on Amazon. Evidently, Frontiers did a version of it, and it comes in a cardboard sleeve. And you can get that, I think, for under $20 on Amazon.com.
Well,
if you're looking for it.
I think the cardboard sleeve is the promo, which
that was the picture that was popping up, and I didn't see anything that said promo on it. So,
well, it's usually the cardboard sleeves are the promos for them.
Yeah, I know I've seen the Kelly promo of it, of his. I think it's the I'm Alive CD. So anyway,
what else we got?
We got as of recent Friday, Lisa Johnson Haynes posted a picture of her son with Brad Gillis. I don't know her son's name, and I apologize.
That is Nolan.
That's Nolan. And what she does, that I don't think she realized, we find out that Brad carries on like an ice machine in this picture.
Yeah,
that might be where the lyric came from.
That is them getting ready to hit the bus for an 8-hour drive, and Brad is probably going to have a drink or two. And what do you need for your drinks? You need a little bit of ice. So there you go. That's what that was.
That's cool of Brad to take that picture with him.
Yeah.
We
did you facilitate that, Josh?
No, I'm not going to. Don't ask those questions.
It's cool.
Yeah, and she was saying how everybody gave her son picks that were around him, and he got Jack Blades' cup, and so that's his first Night Ranger concert.
Yeah, I gave him the that set list. I think you said he was the one that had the set list with the markings on it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So that was so I grabbed a couple that I had and I gave one, to a couple kids, and that must have been that one. So yeah, his first rock concert with mom and dad.
Yeah. Lisa and Daryl. They're good. They're good people.
All right.
Okay, then we move on to another guy that was at the show Friday night, Mr. Mike Smith, showing off his sealed collection. And he's got a big light that doesn't appear to be a cutout, which that's sweet.
Right? Cassettes sealed?
Yep.
Come on.
Well, you can find those every now and then when you walk in the store, So
usually your stuff sealed is going to be 7 Wishes on vinyl and cassette. Not necessarily so much the cassette of 7 Wishes, but it's by that time they're starting to phase out vinyl. Yeah. I mean, I remember it in it would have been like 94, somewhere around there. I went to Media Play and they had CDs in the long boxes, which had been kind of discontinued for a year or so. And they had Big Life in the long box for like $2. And I bought Big Life in the long box sealed for $2. I bought one and my buddy bought one. And so that's where those sealed copies come from, is stuff like that, is them just having the excess and them going on clearance, Man in Motion.
That's cool, man. Were they cut out at that time? Did they cut them?
Well, yeah.
Well, I don't know if they would have been, those were cut
drilled
because they knew they were old because of the box. You're not returning them in 1994 and 1995 for credit when they're in the box. So I don't know if those had actually been drilled.
Like they just hey, clear out this shit.
Yep.
I mean, not shit.
Yeah, but
this stuff.
But yes, the drill part you'll see a lot on the Big Life and the 7 Wishes sealed, because CDs start really kicking off 86, 87, 88, and whatever they got left of that vinyl from 7 Wishes and Big Life, they drilled and
got a notch and everything.
I mean, I remember my grandpa, of all people, bringing me home a Night Ranger record because he found it somewhere, probably for $1. It was 7 Wishes sealed with the drill, with the drill cut. And he just knew, he'd heard me talk about Night Ranger. So that's how I got one of my many sealed copies. It's just my grandpa, of all people, so 7 Wishes and Big Life are easy to find sealed, but a lot of times they have the drill cut, and I think Mike's doesn't have the drill cut. So
a
little bit harder. And you want the hype sticker on it. So having that Shaw Blades, that's not the original release. That is the Rock Candy release.
Right.
So that's the re-release that came out a few years ago. But yeah, there you go. I'm not a big sealed guy, I will not pay premium prices for sealed. I definitely won't pay a premium price for anything sealed, like vinyl wise, that doesn't have a hype sticker.
Yeah, because it could be a reseal.
It could be a reseal. So if I'm ever going to do a sealed record, it's got to at least have the hype sticker on it. So what we got next there, Turbo?
We got your Turbo. I got Sean Irwin, Sweden. What was it? The Sweden Rock Festival. He had taken some pictures, and some website had published some of his photos, and he gave us a link on our page. I thought that was a cool picture of Jack.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we got from the Sweden Rock Festival. Do we know much about? I mean, is there anything we want to talk about that festival, other than they were in Sweden?
I mean, I nothing unique happened. They played. What was it? Sweden I can't remember what one we talked about. Was it? We talked about Sweden. We didn't talk about Switzerland.
So, okay.
So hell, I don't know really much what happened at Rock the Ring. Nothing major. I mean, nothing like they didn't have any issues. So
Yeah.
I always wonder how the crowd reacts to him. That's what I'm always curious about.
As far as I know, everything looked good, like crowd wise. But yeah, I don't have much on that. So
well, Brent, carry on like an ice machine.
I went back and watched some of that Kingdom Come stuff you were talking about. My God, it just got slower.
Yeah,
it's slower. It's slower.
Well, he's come out, and what we're talking about is James Kotek, the drummer for Kingdom Come. They didn't, did not sound good at the Sweden Rock Fest, and there's video out there, and it just looks like he's high or drunk or a combination of both. And now he's come out and said he has broken ribs, and that is either cancel or go out and play the best you could. I don't know. I don't give a shit really at this point.
Yeah.
It's Kingdom Come, so move on to the next one there.
Okay, this goes to our buddy from Japan. That was Taikuzu Kobayashi. Decided he was going to try to paint on his leather jacket for the first time, and I don't know. That goes to 11.
Where do we get those decals? I mean, I've seen people.
There was an order link someone had found, I think, and posted on there, so you can order them. People were ordering them. I love. There it goes back and forth.
If somebody has that, or I'd like to maybe get one of those somewhere.
Yeah, so if anybody knows what that link was, post it. But there was a link on our page.
Okay, I'll go through. I love that. I mean, I know it's on Brad's guitar and all that, but that's a cool little sticker to have, and his paint job looks pretty darn good.
Yeah, he did a great job. And our last but not least, we have our Rumors in the Air edition from Mr. Tom Chapin.
This was great. I laughed.
Little jerk brother won't get back your tape, and there's the Ohio Ranger, and Tom does a great job.
I get a kick out of these. I read them. I laugh. Tom, keep it up. That's funny.
And I can't blow that up anymore. It's kind of, I shrunk it down to fit in here, so it kind of distorted the words.
Brent, I think your next mission is to work the word Ohio into the Night Ranger logo. Do it in the font that you do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. At the
just
top.
Put it out there. I know you got nothing else to do.
No. And I saw somebody on Josh, and Josh, happy belated birthday, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Rock and roll.
I had seen someone write, or was it on the Brad Gillis birthday? Somebody had written, I think it was our friend from Spain, who does these Night Ranger logos, and and kudos to everybody for ignoring it.
I don't throw your name out there anymore.
No,
I figured if you wanted to, you could reach out to him.
Yeah, I do it when I can. I'll drop one in.
So, Josh, are you finally in your 30s yet? You still a young man?
Shit. If 45 feels this bad, 55 is gonna suck. So I gotta start moving more and shit, man. It's just this. Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, getting old is not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, if you got your health, you got everything, man. That's what they say. What's the next one, Brent?
That's it. That was last but not least.
Chapin. Ding, take a drink on that.
There's that Ohio Ranger logo.
OH, my friends.
Kathy Kirkman Lane posted, it was 1 year ago. We got the sweet video, which was the Bring It All Home to Me.
Yeah.
So we're nearing like 1 year of ATBPO, early August
Already.
Mary Ellen Fainiff, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but she posted some photos, and she had a photo that I really liked, which was
that's great,
of Kelly singing there. And what else do we got? Here's a photo that someone posted. Shelly McBride posted, and I think because I have like the hashtag Night Ranger or something, it came up. But you can see before the show, Jack, Kelly, Carrie, and Eric kind of bullshitting, and there's someone else there. I don't know who it quite is. He's a little bit overweight.
Yeah, looks like somebody needs to hit the gym.
Oh, that's that guy they were calling douchebag on the internet.
It was. So
it's just a rumor in the air.
But I'm like, who's that fat fuck with Night Ranger? And I'm like, shit, I'm gonna go drink. But yeah, so that's
I hadn't seen that one.
that's kind of like the hurry up and wait. Like, okay, we're going on, and so I'm wanting to do that recording of them going on stage. So I'm, so I don't know what we were talking about there, but that was us, and then we were there for a little bit of time. Like I said, there was like a little bit of a delay. So, but what it was is, so it's right on the river. So you have the river, and then you have a dock, and so those photos were from all the boats that were behind the stage. So someone on one of those boats took that photo.
Gotcha.
And I'm like I said, I'm scrolling. I'm like, who's that fat fuck Night Ranger? Yeah, fat fuck's me. So there you go. But it's kind of cool, you know. I went and saw the Elvis movie last night. Really well done. If you're an Elvis fan, a little long, but I don't know how you could have made it shorter, because I mean, it isn't like La Bamba where you can do Richie Valens' 6-month career in a 2-month movie. You're talking about someone who had a 25-year career and then everything that came in that career. But I'm a big Elvis fan. I know the whole history of Elvis. It's historically accurate enough. Like, there's nothing like I'm like, oh, that just fucks it up. I mean, there's little things, but nothing that, if you're not that really taints it or anything like that. So if you get a chance, go see the Elvis movie. Tom Hanks is the Colonel.
You got a Colonel Parker?
Tom Hanks is the Colonel, and
I mean, does he do a good job as Colonel Parker?
Everybody, the guy that plays Elvis, some like the posters, maybe he doesn't look exactly like Elvis, but he does a great job. And there are scenes in the movie where, like I said, I've seen everything of Elvis, and there's scenes in that movie where I'm like, I thought it was Elvis. That's how, and his, the voice mannerisms, and they cover everything that needs to be covered. I mean, they could have made it longer if they wanted to, because there's still certain parts that they skip over, but they spend a little bit of time in every era, and it's good. So
good deal.
Do they use actual Elvis music, or is it someone else singing?
So,
and if it is someone else, do they do a Milli Vanilli with the actor? I mean, is he lip syncing it?
From what I understand, he himself, the actor, and I can't remember his name, he sings all the early Elvis stuff. Like, it's actually him singing. Okay. The later stuff, it's him lip syncing to Elvis. And then they also have, I mean, they've tried to make it modern, which they need to do, because, I mean, if you were an Elvis fan when Elvis first came out, you're in your 80s. That's just how long ago it's been. I mean, Elvis has been dead 45 years. And it wasn't like he was getting new fans a lot towards the end. So if you look at the income that the Elvis like brings in, it's really decreased. So they need, but so they mix in like a little bit of hip hop and stuff into like some of these flashback scenes, so I mean, they tie it, it's well done. I like it. And yeah, so if you got something, need something to do, go see it. Like I said, Tom Hanks does a good job as the Colonel. And if you don't know the story, I think there's a lot of stuff that you would find interesting. Like, I knew the story, but even my buddy who I went with, he's an Elvis fan. He knows a lot, but like, he's like, I never knew Elvis never did a tour outside the United States.
Yeah,
and
Colonel Tom Parker stifled that, right? If I remember correctly, because he couldn't leave the country.
Well, that's in the movie. You have to watch it. But
I'd heard that, which I thought was odd. I was like,
yeah,
God, Elvis just trusted this guy implicitly.
Yeah. So good stuff. So there's that. And but it's just weird just how this music that influenced all of our influences, is just almost like gone. Like, there's no one in the younger generation hardly that gets into Elvis. even the Beatles are suffering. There's not a lot of high school kids getting into the Beatles. Even when I was in high school in the 90s, there's still kids getting into the Beatles now. You think back, the Beatles only been broke up for 20 years. It's like you thought that was forever back then, but really, it wasn't.
Wasn't that
bad. So yeah, it's just, I mentioned to someone about the Everly Brothers, like it'd be cool to have like an Everly Brothers harmony or something like that. And they're like, what? I'm like, all right, well,
Never mind.
Well,
speaking of the Everlys, did you see, Josh? I posted a link on my personal Facebook page, but somebody just did a tribute to the Everlys. It was on Sirius XM, but you can find it on YouTube, and I can post the link if you want or send it to you. But all these artists get together and do Everly songs, and of course Butch Walker, who Brent and I are big fans of, he did
Bye Bye Love, didn't he?
Bye Bye Love. And it's cool because not to get off on the Everlys, but I grew up, my dad was an Everly Brothers fan, and I grew up listening to Kathy's Clown and all that stuff. And it's hard. They call that like a blood harmony because it's their siblings, and that you can't replicate that real well unless you're,
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's amazing just how big and influential the Everly Brothers were, and then just nothing,
and I forget which one was it, Don or Phil produced Aaron Everly, which is Axl Rose's ex from November Rain.
Well,
so,
and you got to think about when we were, young, you had golden oldie stations, which are gone now.
Yeah.
I mean, what you have
our bands are the golden oldies now.
Well, and they've changed it to classic rock, and really music on the radio picks up at 1970. And so anything before 70 really is off the radio now. So, I mean, you can't find a Motown station. It used to be I could, even here in
flip the channels.
Southern Ohio, I could find a Motown station and a Goldie Oldies, and so it's just weird, just where that music. But then you think about it, it's like, if you were 12 years old, so I'm choosing the youngest age when Elvis first hit, and just took United States by storm. So 1955, let's say. I mean, you could argue 54, but that's a little bit more local. Let's just say 1955. If you were 12 years old, you're in your 80s, and it's like, these, and I'm a big Elvis fan. I have to be I know I'm on the younger part of it. I'm 45. Yeah,
funny,
it's just,
my daughter, who is 16 now, a few years ago, she got into Elvis for a minute. And she's asked me, like, do you know these songs? I was like, yeah, I know these songs. And she was like, man, this is really kind of, cool. And I was like, it is. I said,
so because of Lilo and Stitch?
I have no idea. It could have been. I don't know why. Just out of nowhere, she was playing, Hound Dog and Jailhouse Rock. And I'm like, where are you coming from with that?
I'm a big, like, post movies Elvis. Like, the songs aren't all there, but his voice is, some of the songs are kind of shitty, but his voice just, 1968 on is just superb.
And I'll tell you, if you're ever down in Nashville and you looking for something to do, there's a tour you can take, and they they stop there. Yeah, you can go in and I did it, and Elvis, the piano that Elvis used to sit at and play, is still sitting there. And they tell great stories about Elvis in that studio, so it's worth it if you're ever down this way looking for something to do.
Andy,
and don't come by my house.
That was Stephanie Seymour in the November Rain video, not Aaron Everly, by the way.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. But Axl married her, right, for a minute?
He was with Aaron Everly for a while. I know that.
Yeah.
But Stephanie Seymour was in the video?
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right,
I have a horrible memory.
Everybody getting your Night Ranger news along with some Elvis. And
real quick, Josh, behind you, the 12-inch, is that a 12-inch single?
That?
The Man in Motion thing?
That is a Japanese Man in Motion tour book.
Maybe that's what I was wondering, if that's what that was.
Maybe we'll dig that out next week and show it. And that is a Montreal Expos hat.
Ooh, but you don't have the red, white sections on it, though.
Nah, it's just got the logo on
it. You need an Expos jersey, man.
I do.
Well, what's cool about
do you really?
What's cool is how they have the M and the red part's the E and their logo. I thought that was cool.
It's like the Milwaukee Brewers with the glove.
The glove.
It's an M and a B.
That's a cool logo.
So, All right. So if you're out there listening, just share your thoughts, feelings, your your issues with Brent, whatever you want to do. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm having a little bit of an issue with the website uploading my MP3s. So I got to dig into that. So the last episode isn't quite on all the podcatchers yet. So let me figure that out. But normally we're on Spotify. I mean, we're on there. We just found the latest episode. So Spotify and, iTunes and whatever the fuck else is out there.
Stitcher, iHeartRadio,
Mhm.
Audio Mac, Pandora, and of course
Or-
YouTube, which is
yeah.
what we like
Yep.
because you can see our
And
lovely faces.
if not, call Brent and he'll read the transcript to you.
Yeah.
So
Josh
Andrew,
was wrong. Josh was wrong. Josh was wrong.
Andrew, take us out, mofo.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Once again, it's awesome talking to everybody, talking to my buddies here about Night Ranger from the lovely beaches of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. I say goodbye to you and thank you and see you next time and tell a friend.
Tell two friends and an enemy. Later.
How are you? Get to All right.